They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
No one's hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
When the name ICPC is mentioned, what really comes to mind is an agency set up to investigate, arrest and prosecute persons allegedly involved in cases such as bribery, abuse of office and sundry corrupt acts. However, ICPC's mandate has a very strong preventive slant. Where the Commission perceives to have corruption vulnerabilities, it has a duty to block their occurrence. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, a production of the Public Enlightenment Department of ICPC. I am Ruth Awudi. Petitions are indispensable to the work of ICPC. A petition is a formal written request submitted to an authority for judicial action. The bulk of cases treated by ICPC begin with petitions. Section 6A of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 empowers the Commission to receive and investigate any report of conspiracy to commit or attempt to commit or commission of such offence, and in appropriate cases to prosecute offenders. These reports often come in as petitions. Pursuant to the above, ICPC can invite persons as witnesses in an ongoing investigation or as suspects. Such invitations can come either based on intelligence report from Nigeria Financial Investigation Unit (NFIU), a petition from a member of the public, or a recommendation from a system study conducted by the Commission. When individuals or organizations are summoned by ICPC, what goes through their minds? Today's edition focuses on how to honor ICPC summons. We have segments on anti-corruption stories, ethics and values, know the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act, drama, and many more. Joy Aja is standing by with stories on anti-corruption.
Corruption not in my country.
Yes.
Good day, sir.
Good day.
Sir, I'm here in line with my score in the last final exams.
What about your score?
You gave me 25%, sir.
Oh! You scored 25%.
Sir, you didn't add my continuous assessment. If you did,
Who told you that? During rain semester, you failed. It means you have one extra year to go.
Oh, sir, please, I beg you in the name of God. I can't afford to have an extra year.
Why are you begging it?
Please, sir, my mother is depending on my graduation, so I can cater for my younger ones.
But you
Please, sir.
failed.
Let's just meet somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Continuous assessment. I'll give it to you. I'll give you continuous assessment. Everything. Just
Stop! This is corruption, not in my country!
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello and welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Joy Aja. ICPC has arraigned Professor Richard I. Akindele, a former lecturer at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Osun State, before Justice Maureen Onyetenu of Federal High Court sitting in Osogbo, Osun State, for allegedly demanding sex for the exchange of marks from Ms. Monica Osagi, a female postgraduate student. Professor Akindele, who was arraigned on a 4-count charge by ICPC at the court, allegedly committed the offense in September 2017 as a lecturer at the institution. According to the first count of the charge read in court, the suspect corruptly demanded for sexual benefits for himself from Ms. Osage, who was then a postgraduate student with a promise to upgrade her marks from fail to pass. The ex-lecturer was further charged for concealing evidence with intent by removing some parts of the WhatsApp conversation between him and the victim, thereby committing an offense contrary to Section 15, subsection 1 and 2 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. The accused person pleaded not guilty to all the charges, and his counsel, Mr. Francis Wole Omotosho, thereafter made an oral application for bail on behalf of his client. But counsel to ICPC, Mr. Kehinde Adetoye, urged that the court should ensure bail conditions were met before granting bail to the accused person. Rather than grant bail, Justice Onyetenu adjourned the trial to 27th of November 2018 for definite hearing and said that Professor Akindele should be remanded in prison until that date.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
Let's act for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
In a related development, ICPC has arraigned one Hassan Abdullahi Manga before Honorable Justice Abbas Aman of Kebbi State High Court 3, sitting in Birni, Kebbi, on a 2-count charge bordering on alleged forgery. Mr. Manga, a principal inspector with the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, serving in Niger State Command, was accused of procuring and presenting a forged Nigeria Certificate in Education lower credit from Adamu Oye College of Education, Kebbi State, with which he used to secure employment with NSCDC in 2004. Trouble began to brew for the accused person when in 2016, the Honorable Minister of Interior, Abdurrahman Dambazau, upon the suspicion that forged certificates were being presented by many officers of parastatals under the ministry, wrote to ICPC to scrutinize the credentials of its personnel presented either at entry point or during the period of their service. The Commission immediately swung into action, and its investigations revealed that the NCE presented by Mr. Manga before he was employed by NSCDC, which he purportedly obtained in 2001, was forged, as his name was not on the convocation list of that year. The accused person entered a not guilty plea when the 2 charges preferred against him were read to him. His counsel, Husseini Zakaria, prayed the court to grant his client bail, which was not opposed by the prosecution counsel. He was granted bail in the sum of 2 million naira and a surety in like sum who must possess a landed property within the jurisdiction of the court. The case has been adjourned to the 11th and 12th December 2018 for hearing. ICPC has handed over 12 vehicles it recovered to the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. The vehicles, which included 1 Toyota Land Cruiser and 11 Hilux trucks, were recovered from some retired directors of the agency who had left with the vehicles upon their retirements. Speaking at the handing over ceremony, Mr. Tunji Jabaru of Assets Tracing Recovery and Management Unit, who represented the Commission, said that ICPC had received a petition in 2017 on the allegation that some directors had made away with TCN's vehicles.
Yes, and you are welcome. You are from TCN?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sometimes, middle of last year,
Yes.
the Commission received a petition that some retired directors went away with government vehicles.
That's true.
So the Commission investigated and we recovered these vehicles from them.
Yes.
So on behalf of the chairman, I was directed to hand over the vehicles to you.
Thank you very much.
And when you get back to your office, so we want the MD to write a letter back to the acting chairman that these 12 vehicles were received by the organization.
It's all right.
So thank you very much.
In his remarks at the ceremony, Mr. Mohammed Adamu Jere, Transport Officer TCN, who represented the Managing Director of the agency, Mr. Usman Mohammed, expressed appreciation to the Commission for the efforts made to recover the vehicles, saying that the agency had lost hope of getting the vehicles back before ICPC's intervention.
We wish to sincerely thank the Commission, ICPC. Without your intervention, we were losing hope of getting these vehicles because of some factors, the people that were behind it. And I assure you that this is a very huge saving that you made to TCN. Hundreds of millions of nairas here. And this vehicle, releasing this vehicle to us, will surely help in the drive of this present government in its own efforts to improve power supply in the country. We have so many projects all over the country. We use Hilux vehicles a lot. You know, we enter bush and what have you. And as you can see, most of the vehicles are Hilux. This will impact very positively and very hugely on this drive. We thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Ruth. Stay with us.
ICPC over time has deployed Section 6 of its enabling law to educate the public on anti-corruption and to also undertake system study and review of corruption-prone procedures in government ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, and even in the private sector. This is with a view to ensuring that corruption is nipped even before it occurs. The Commission can summon persons for the purpose of being examined in relation to a complaint or any matter that can aid or facilitate investigation. The law confers the powers to arrest, detain, and prosecute those who fail to appear before it after being summoned. What goes through the minds of people who have been summoned by ICPC?
I have been there once on invitation, but not as being summoned. A friend of mine was summoned and I was called upon to be like a witness. The challenge is that the moment you hear an invitation of someone by ICPC, your heart like lifts. You get a bit frightened, sometimes even afraid to honor that invitation. But what really impressed me most was the fact that if you gather courage to go, you discover that the place is homely, the approach is very, very, inviting, and truly, you find out that they have a very diplomatic way of just asking you questions, and all the fright, all the fear, like goes away. And that's what I really saw, and I was quite impressed. I said, oh, so this is how they approach people, in this a very disciplined way, in a very human way, in a very polite and dignified way. Then that fear actually that somebody had before got vanished. It's a simple question. What do you know about this case? By the time you narrate, they will not intimidate you, and then that ends it. And so with that, I was really at peace, and I came back home rejoicing. For me, anyone that shies away means that there is a skeleton in his cupboard. Actually, just come and give the information as it is. If you are not hiding any form of information or facts, then you have got nothing to fear. It's like they are just trying to help you out. Indeed, somebody told me that they were even trying to see how they can help him out. And instead of taking the person to court, if he can just settle the matter between the two of the parties, then that will end the case. Nobody will hear about them. I think that's a way to give dignity to people that have done something that is bad. But it's not the best option for you to just run away, because that complicates the case, I guess, for the person that has been invited. So compliance, I believe that might be the best way to get a soft landing, even if you are indicted.
Okay, one of my colleagues was invited by ICPC And because he was working directly under me, my attention was required to be able to give evidence about what type of character he has. And I went there and, just filled some forms, undertaking, or is it a bail form? And he was released. Naturally, my reaction was simply calm because usually when I'm invited by either law enforcement agencies or people in that category, I don't normally panic because I know that it's difficult for me to offend the law, except on very, very rare occasions. Therefore, whenever I'm invited, I'm calm. For me, ICPC will not hang you. Therefore, if you are invited, you go and tell them the facts of the matter. And I think that is the end of it. Everybody should just be calm. The only thing is that if you know you are doing something which is not right, even if you run out of this country, you will still come back, dead or alive. So you cannot run away from the law.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The enabling law of the Commission encourages people to send petitions to the Commission in order to kickstart investigations. The law even makes provision for people who are illiterate in English language to be provided with an interpreter. What categories of people does ICPC summon? What should be their response towards such summons? An officer from our Financial Investigation Unit speaks.
The Commission has an empowering act, which is ICPC Act 2000. Section 28 and 29 deals specifically with invitation of suspects, witnesses. They don't call them suspect anyway now, but they call them subject, or people that complaints are made against. So, based on Section 29 and Section 28 of the ICPC Act, we're empowered to invite people for questioning in respect of complaint that have been sent in. So those persons, when they come in, we examine them based on the content of those petitions. Why individuals are invited to the Commission or organization to the Commission is for purpose of examining complaint based on petition received and also based on intelligence gathered. We have an intelligence unit which go out there, gather intelligence on so many people and make recommendation. If it so happened that the recommendation is approved for investigation, the persons involved, either as subjects, which were suspects initially, they will be invited for questioning, or as witnesses, or any person the Commission feel could aid in bringing out the content and arriving at the right conclusion.
Okay, what category of people do you invite?
Basically, the public will feel that it's only people that are guilty that come to the Commission. It's not everyone that comes to the Commission is a suspect. Before I think the public will understand suspect, but based on the ACJ, they are referred to as subject. It's not everyone that comes to the Commission is a suspect. Some are witnesses, some are people that we feel we can get information that will aid in the investigation of the petition we have received, complaint, or based on intelligence report, or system based on recommendation by system study and review. They basically come in to either help us or tell us the role they played, or the actions or the inactions on their part that led to what we are looking at.
Okay, the final one is that when people are invited, the first thing is that they get scared. So what should be their response or attitude?
Yeah, we really know people get scared when they say ICPC. You're invited to the ICPC, you see them running and calling everyone they know. Yes, they are inviting me, and just slight invitation, some people blood pressure will just go up. My advice to the general public is, please don't be scared when you receive an invite from the ICPC. Come is either for you to come and aid our investigation, or tell us the role you played, or how involved you were in, or whatever information you have, so that it will help us to see how we can rid the nation. I know it's not possible to eradicate, but at least reduce corruption to its minimum. Don't be afraid. ICPC, we are your friends. So we are there to help you and to make Nigeria great again.
The ICPC Act provides for summons, provides for invitations and orders. These are actually investigative tools. They are tools that the Commission can take advantage of to get the person complained of or any other person to come before the Commission to state in very plain terms the side or his own side of the story. Actually tools that we can use to help the Commission to invite those who will be able to aid the Commission in the course of investigation or investigating any complaints brought before it. These are provided for in two sections of the ICPC Act. That's sections 28 and section 29. While section 28 deals with invitations, orders that are sent out to anyone, that's the language of the law, anyone that the investigating officer of the Commission thinks would be helpful in finding the details of the allegations in a petition before it. Summons, on the other hand, is provided for in section 29. And in the other subsections between 30 and 34, it provides for the forms the summons will take and how this will be served on the person that is aimed at to get him to come down. But the bottom line is that it is not like when a summons is served or an invitation is served on someone that the person has been arrested or the person has committed an offense. So this idea of a summons being served on someone or an invitation being extended to someone and the person starts jittering, he wants to call someone he knows to see whether he can talk to somebody to see what's really happening. It doesn't arise. If you have ever looked at it of justice, you'll see that it has an imaginary scale. So all that the Commission is saying when you are summoned or you are invited is come and help us unravel these allegations in this petition. Come and tell us your own side of the story so that we can put your side of the story against the story of the complainant. Then we'll be able to balance it. In most cases, it is possible that after investigation, after you have been summoned and you appear before the Commission and investigation is concluded, it could be discovered that you do not have any question to answer. You could be completely exonerated of the allegations and then you would be let off. So it is always a good idea for you to come before the Commission when you are summoned, when you are invited to come. Now, before I conclude, another note of warning we want to sound is that while at this stage you've not been indicted of any offense, it is also possible that your behavior towards an invitation or a summons could put you now in the line of ICPC's fire, so to speak. For example, subsection 10 of section 28 says that if you do not comply with the provisions or you do not comply with any of the dictates of invitation, you could be prosecuted. While in section 34 it says that if you refuse to acknowledge on a summons that is served on you for yourself or for someone else, you could be prosecuted for an offense. So I think it is good that we do not allow something that could just, clear your name of all investigations now turn out to be something for which you could be prosecuted against. So anytime you receive summons or invitation from the ICPC, it is always good to comply. Most likely, you may walk away free without anything against your name.
To make elected officials accountable, ICPC says no to vote buying and violence during election. Vote wisely.
the Commission to achieve its desired objective, there was the need to craft a corporate vision, which is a Nigeria free from all forms of corruption and corrupt practices. ICPC operates within the confines of the law, which sometimes is at variance with the populace expectations of certain people. The Commission's modus operandi is to employ all legal means in its operation. Therefore, when an individual receives a summons from the Commission, they should be rest assured that they will be treated with respect, dignity, and in line with the dictates of the law. Thank you for watching this edition. Keep a date with us same time next week. I am Ruth Awodi. Bye for now.